you guys, hi, it's me, it's Crystal. So I thought I split my book haul up into 3 different videos because I have a lot of books to get through and I didn't want to feel rushed because I wanted to enjoy talking about all the books that I bought so far this year. So in this video, I'm going to haul the graphic novels that I bought along with the ebooks that I bought, the audiobooks that I bought, and one of the nonfiction books that I bought that I don't currently have here with me because it's with a coworker. So we're going to talk about all of those books and then there are more books to come. So in this haul, I think I have 29 books, so let's just get started. So first up, I have volumes 2 through 6 of the Black edition of Death Note. So there are 2 volumes for every one volume of the Black edition, and they're the Black editions because matte black covers, sprayed edges, very classy books. I already had volume 1, and when I read that one in January, I went out and bought the rest of the volumes because I just had to know where the story was going and how everything would end. So I've talked about all these books in my January and February wrap-ups this year. But Death Note, if you don't know, is a horror manga and it's about this guy named Light, and he finds a Death Notebook. And a Death Notebook is a notebook that is owned by a god of death, which is some kind of demon. And whenever you write someone's name down in a Death Notebook, they die. And so Light thinks he wants to use this power to make the world a better place. Very exciting. So I'm going to show you all the covers just in case you want to know what they look like. And also, let's take a look at the artwork because the artwork in this is amazing. And there's Ryuk. This is our death god. I just love him so much. At first he really creeped me out, but then he kind of grew on me. So these books are by Tsugumi Oba, and the artwork is done by Takashi Obata. So this is volume 2, and we have volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, and volume 6. So basically they all look the same. There's just a different person in the front. And of course volume 1 has Light in the middle. We love Light so much. So next I picked up Tomi by Junji Ito, and this is another horror manga about this succubus, and whenever guys see her, they fall in love with her and they're driven crazy, and sometimes they're driven to kill other people and sometimes they're driven to kill themselves, but mostly they're driven to kill Tomi specifically by chopping her up into little pieces. And I talked about this in my March reading wrap up. So the artwork is also done by the author, and here's what it looks like in case you're curious. So after that, I decided to pick up Uzumaki, also by Junji Ito. And all I know about this is that there is, I think, a coastal town in Japan that is cursed. And this is also horror. Well, this is horrifying. And this artwork, of course, is going to look largely the same because it is also done by the author. But yeah, it's really good. And when I picked up Uzumaki, I also decided to pick up Venus in the Blind Spot, also by Junji Ito. And this is a collection of short stories. I'm assuming also in the horror genre because I'm pretty sure that's Junji Ito's brand. And there's something else by Junji Ito coming out I think at the end of this month. It's not going to be in this book haul, obviously, but I am probably going to pick it up when it comes out. I think it's called Love Sickness. It looks really disturbing. And then we have more of the author and artist. Great art style and artwork. Also, check out this cover. Look at that. I love that. So next I picked up 4 volumes of The Witch and the Beast by Koyusuke Satake, I think. And I want to say these are like paranormal. Maybe some paranormal, supernatural horror, but it's about this vampire and this guy. I don't know if he has any supernatural abilities or not, but anyway, they go to this town, and this town is under the power of this witch, and the witch has everyone convinced that she's their hero, but like really she's not. And so they go to this town to try to draw the witch out and stop her. Sounds really fun. And I think the artwork is also done by the author because I didn't see a separate artist listed anywhere, but this is what that artwork looks like. And this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I picked up so many at one time because Books A Million was having a sale, and I would have picked up more, but these are only ones they have out right now. But there are 8 volumes in total, and the 8th volume is due to come out in November, so I'll probably pick up the other 4 at the end of the year. So the last graphic novel I picked up is Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I think this is a tie-in with the Netflix show. I haven't watched the Netflix show yet, but I do have it on my list. And all the names listed on the bottom are Kelly Thompson, Veronica Fish, Andy Fish, and Jack Morelli. And it looks like it's going to be darker toned and super fun. And one thing I noticed before I picked this up was, oh, look at this creepy thing. Like, I hate that, but I love it at the same time because it gives me hope that this will have like maybe a darker vibe than the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch show, which I love, but we're not upset about a darker twist on something. So next I'm going to talk about the nonfiction book that I own a physical copy of, but I don't currently have it with me because a coworker asked to borrow it, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I read this, I want to say, in February, and the title is pretty self-explanatory. It's about how to build new habits and break old ones. And if you want to see how shiny that cover is, you can go and watch that video because it's a really pretty cover. But anyway. So next I picked up 2 audiobooks because they were on sale, and they're also both thrillers. And the first one is Tell Me My Name by Erin Ruddy. And this is about this married couple who are kidnapped by this psychopath who says he knows the woman from her past. And so he wants to play this game where he'll give her 3 chances to remember who he is. And every time she gets his name wrong, he's going to torture her husband. And I listened to this last month in March, and so I talked about that in my March reading wrap up, but I thought it was really interesting. So next I picked up Kiss the Girls by James Patterson, and I don't know when this book was published, but they made a movie version of it, I want to say in like the mid to late 90s. It had Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd in it, and it's a really, really good movie. And it follows this detective named Alex Cross, and he is trying to find this guy who is kidnapping women and holding them hostage in some kind of creepy, disturbing dungeon-like thing. The movie is really good. I actually wanted to read this book like when I was in high school, but I didn't read thrillers back then. So now that I'm getting into suspense books and thrillers, I want to pick more up. And so when I saw this one was on sale, I decided to pick it up. I listened to a little bit of the audiobook sample, and it's really, really creepy. So should be fun. So next I'm going to talk about all the ebooks that I bought, and normally I wouldn't buy this many ebooks, but there were a lot of ebooks that were on sale that were on my TBR, and also Amazon had this thing where if you spent $25, they gave you a $6 credit. And since I had a couple of full price ebooks that I wanted, I thought I could use the $6 credit on one of those. So I wrote everything down so that I would have the author's name and a book genre readily available. And so the first ebook I picked up is A Master of Salt and Bones by KERI. And I think this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's classified as a gothic romance. So I'm guessing some kind of historical gothic Beauty and the Beast type of story. I think it's about this woman. I think she goes to be like a maid for this lord who like never leaves the house, and that's all I know. I don't even know how I came across this book. It's just I saw the cover and I was like, I love that. And then it was a very inexpensive book. I don't know if it was on sale or if it was always priced about $3, but anyway, I picked it up. And next I picked up Glitter by April and Pike. And this is a YA fantasy / steampunk. And I think this is inspired by Marie Antoinette. So it takes place in France. And there's some kind of street drug called glitter. And the main character is hoping to sell this drug so that she can get enough money to escape the courts. That's all I know about the book. The audiobook was on sale, and so I was listening to a little bit of the audiobook, and I ended up not picking up the audiobook, but while I was listening to it, when it cut off, because the sample's only so long, I was like, oh my gosh, I want more. So I went and looked at the ebook, and the ebook had a lower price tag on it. Again, I don't know if it's always priced that much, or if it was on sale, but I picked it up. And then next I picked up The Poison Eaters by Holly Black. This is a YA fantasy anthology. I think this anthology is set in the same world as one of her book series, but I'm not familiar with that book series, so I don't know 100% sure, but I think that's what the description said. But anyway, it sounds dark and fairy tale-like, and I like a good anthology, and so I picked it up. Next, I picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And this is a YA Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I think the Beast character is a fae. Obviously, probably everyone watching this video knows more about this book than I do, but I've heard a lot about this book and I never wanted to pick it up, but then I saw it was on sale for $2.99, and so then I was like, let's see what the big deal is with this series, even though I hear that book 1 is the worst one, but I'm gonna read it anyway, or try to. And that's all I know about this book. I read a little bit of the first few pages before I bought it, because even though it was $3, I still was like, I don't want to pick it up just to pick it up just because everybody's read this book but me, you know? So I read a little bit of it and I'm like, it's fine. I would keep reading. So yeah. And then, speaking of books that were $3, I picked up Fable by Adrienne Young, and this is a YA fantasy. I think there are pirates in the book. That's all I know about this book. I thought about picking it up when it first came out, and then I was like, I don't know, because sometimes, you know, they're just different kinds of YA books. You know, there are YA books that are like for, you know, children, and then there are YA books that are like for everyone. And so I felt like this was more maybe a YA book that was for kids, you know, but then I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and then people I know who have read it have said it's really good and it's really interesting. And so when I saw it was on sale, I was like, let's just pick up this book and stop going back and forth on it, because I've been going back and forth on it for months. But that's all I know. It's YA fantasy. A girl is on a boat. I think there are pirates. They go on an adventure. It sounds fun. So next I picked up The Paper Magician by Charlie N. Holmberg, and this is a fantasy book about people who practice different kinds of magic. And so I think there's like still magic and paper magic and blood magic, and this was $1.99, and this has been on my TBR for years. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, it's a sign. Of course, books 2 and 3 were also like $1.99, but I'm like, don't go picking up all the books, Crystal. Because I tend to do that. Sometimes I'm like, let's just read book 1. Let's read book 1 first. So it's about this woman, and she graduates from magic school, and I think she wants to do still magic or metal magic or something, but they're actually running low on paper magicians. And so usually people get to pick their specialty, but for some reason hers is assigned, and so she goes to work with this guy, but then like this blood magician like attacks him, and I think he gets his heart ripped out. I don't know, it sounds like he gets his heart ripped out, and then like she has to like travel into like the chambers of his heart to like bring him back to life or solve a mystery or something. I don't know. It sounds interesting. Okay, so this next book is something that I would never buy, but I was looking in the suspense section of the books that were on sale, because I'm like, why not see what else is on sale now that I know that there are so many books on sale right now. And so I picked up Orphan Monster Spy by Matt Klein, and it's a YA historical fiction. And so normally, excuse the cliche, but like I avoid war books like the plague. I don't like war books. I don't like war movies. And so as soon as I see, you know, war, especially World War I or World War II, I'm like, no thanks. And so basically it's about this girl, and she's an orphan. She loses her mother. I don't know how. I don't know if it's just a car accident or if someone attacked them. But she's this Jewish girl, and she has blonde hair and blue eyes. So she's approached by the resistance, and they want her to infiltrate this private school where like this, I don't know if he's like a general or like just somebody who's really high up on like the Nazi ladder. They want her to infiltrate the private school that his daughter goes to, and then befriend her, and I guess get invited over to the house and like spy on the Nazi guy for them. So it sounds dangerous and it sounds really interesting, and so I'm like, maybe this will be the book that gets me to change my mind about war stories. So next I picked up Ophelia by Lisa Klein, and this is a YA historical kind of Hamlet retelling from the point of view of Ophelia. Only in this story, Ophelia doesn't die. And we get the story of her turbulent love affair with Hamlet. And I don't know, apparently they made a TV show out of it. I don't know anything about the TV show, or maybe it was a movie. I don't know. But I don't know, it sounded interesting. And so I decided to pick it up. And then I picked up Monstrous Heart by Claire McKenna, and this is an adult fantasy / steampunk, and it sounds really, really interesting. First of all, look at this cover. This cover is gorgeous, and I think the author is British, and so the physical book was not available over here yet, but I wanted to go ahead and pick up this ebook because the price was right and this cover was gorgeous. And it sounds really interesting. So it's about this woman. She inherits this like decrepit lighthouse, and the light, of course, lighthouse light shine out into the ocean, but this one shines out into like a sea of monsters, and it just sounds really interesting. And yeah. So then next I picked up The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwood, and I think this is contemporary fantasy, and so it is about this a library where unwritten stories like go to spend eternity in some kind of unwritten story limbo. And I think it follows the librarian of the unwritten stories, and so like they're constantly trying to escape and get back to their authors and hound them about finishing their stories. And as somebody who has written a lot of stories, I just find the concept of this very interesting. And so I decided to finally pick this book up because it's been on my radar for a while. So then I picked up Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this is a science fiction thriller. And this book sounds really, really trippy. I think it's about, if I'm not getting this confused with another book of his, I think this is about like memory manipulation and how like you can like alter your memories or something, and so people can like remember a life like so vividly, but like they have like a completely different life. It sounds so trippy, and I've heard really good things about it, and I've been wanting to read a book by Blake Crouch. There was this TV show, I don't know how long it lasted because I only saw episode 1, but there was this TV show called The Wayward Pines based on the book Wayward Pines by Blake Crouch. And just like that episode that I saw, it just looked really, really interesting and trippy. And so I had my eye on Blake Crouch for a while. And so when I saw the concept for this book, I was like really intrigued. But again, it's a little out of my comfort zone. But since I had my $6 credit, I decided to use it on this book. And then I picked up The Age of Witches by Louisa Morgan, and this is, I think this is a fantasy. I've looked up all the genres for these books, and so I wrote down fantasy, so I guess it's a fantasy. But anyway, I don't remember what this book is about, and I literally just bought it. But I've had it on my TBR for a while, and I know it's historical fiction. I think it's about, like, there's this witch who was hung in Salem, obviously, because aren't they all? And there's this, in her lineage, it's like part of the witches don't use their magic anymore, and then, so it's like fallen dormant, and then like there's another line of witches and they do use their magic, and so this is about the side that uses their magic, and that's all I know. But this has also been on my TBR for a little while, and when I saw that it was $2.99, I picked it up. And the last ebook I picked up, also because it was on sale, is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And I hear a lot of people saying great things about Riley Sager, and then some people saying that sometimes it sounds like something supernatural is going to happen in his books and then nothing supernatural happens. So I don't know if that's the case with this book. So I don't know if it's just a regular thriller or if it's a ghost thriller, but either way, it sounds really interesting. I think it's about this woman whose parents moved into like this manor, and then like after a few weeks like they fled because it was haunted, and so like years later she's like restoring old places, and she goes back to this manor to fix it up, and I think it's haunted, but we'll see. So that is all for Q1 book haul part 1. And yeah, let me know, have you read any of these books? Are you interested in reading any of these books? So I will see you guys in a part 2 tomorrow, where I think I'm going to do the classics that I bought in the young adult books and the anthologies, maybe. Whatever is in this stack over here. So I will see you guys in that video. And yeah, I hope that your week is getting off to a good start and that you have a good rest of the week. And